Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us. Merci d'être parmi nous aujourd'hui. My name is Sébastien Tremblay, and I will be your moderator. Je m'appelle Sébastien Tremblay, et je serai le modérateur de ce point de presse. Before we begin, a reminder to place your microphone on mute until I invite you to ask your question. Avant de commencer, j'aimerais vous rappeler de déactiver votre microphone jusqu'à ce que je vous invite à poser votre question. Today, we will be hearing remarks from le maire, Jim Watson. Available for questions from the media, following the mayor's statement, we also have. Disponible pour répondre aux questions des médias, nous accueillons aussi Steve Kanalakis, City Manager, Directeur municipal, le Dr. Brett Maloney, Deputy Medical Officer of Health, médecin adjoint en santé publique, Dan Chenier, Facility Services, Directeur général des loisirs, de la culture et des installations, Stephen Willis, General Manager, Planning, Infrastructure and Economic Development, Directeur général de la planification, de l'infrastructure et du développement économique, and Donna Gray, General Manager, Community and Social Services, Directeur général des services sociaux et communautaires. We will now begin with remarks by Mayor Jim Watson.
Thank you very much, Sébastien. Merci beaucoup, Sébastien, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Today's decision by the province is likely one of the most difficult decisions the Premier and his cabinet have ever had to make. La décision prise aujourd'hui par la province est probablement l'une des décisions les plus difficiles que le Premier ministre et son cabinet aient jamais eu à prendre. The health and safety of our population clearly is our number one objective in the City of Ottawa, as it is throughout the country. Earlier today, I spoke with Premier Ford and Finance Minister Rod Phillips, who briefed me on the new restrictions as well as the supports they'll be introducing to assist those businesses and employees affected by today's decision. This 28-day temporary closure of certain businesses presents an opportunity for us to collectively realize the seriousness of what is before us and for all of us to reset and refocus our actions towards flattening the curve and eliminating this virus. This pandemic is the most challenging threat we have witnessed in generations, and we must work together to help those directly affected by this horrific pandemic. C'est la menace la plus grave dont nous ayons été témoins depuis des générations, et nous devons travailler ensemble pour aider ceux qui sont directement touchés par la pandémie. Ottawa residents have shown their resilience throughout this pandemic. There's no doubt that this will have a significant impact, a negative impact on our local economy, particularly for small businesses and the thousands of people that they employ. If you have the means, I'd urge you to do your essential shopping at local small businesses and consider ordering takeout or buying gift certificates from your favorite restaurant. I encourage all who can, please consider donating to the Ottawa Food Bank this weekend for their annual Thanksgiving food drive. I'll be meeting virtually with our Human Needs Task Force and our Economic Partners Task Force early next week to discuss further steps that we can help the most vulnerable in our community, as well as the business community and those people who have lost their jobs for this period of time. I'll also be working closely with my council colleagues during the development of our 2021 budget to see what can be done to provide more support to local businesses struggling through this extended pandemic. Starting Tuesday, in consultation with OC Transpo Chair Alan Hubley and General Manager John Manconi, OC Transpo will be issuing tickets to those not following the municipal bylaw on wearing a mask while on OC Transpo property or riding a bus or a train. In other words, no more warnings as of Tuesday, no mask, no ride, and you'll be issued a ticket. I cannot stress this enough. Please listen to all the advice and rules implemented by our hardworking and dedicated medical staff and our law enforcement partners. It's been said over and over again, but I cannot stress this enough. We all have a role to play in limiting the spread of this deadly virus. Cela a été répété à plusieurs reprises, mais j'insiste que nous avons tout un rôle à jouer pour limiter la propagation de ce virus. That means limiting your close contacts to those in your household. If you live on your own, pair up with one or two trusted friends as social support if necessary. Do your best to limit trips outside the homes for essential trips, such as going to a medical appointment, going to work, going grocery shopping, or visiting a pharmacy. Download the COVID Alert app, and most importantly, be COVID-wise. Et surtout, soyez COVID avisés. We are all in this together, and I have no doubt that we can all collectively flatten this curve. Thank you very much, and merci beaucoup, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm pleased to open it up to questions to either myself or our staff who are on the line as well. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will now invite questions from each agency, alphabetically. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Nous allons maintenant répondre aux questions de chaque organisme par ordre alphabétique. Vous pouvez poser une question et une question de suivi. Again, a reminder to remain on mute until I ask you to ask your question. We'll now start with 1310 News, Alex Gouge. Alex?
Hello, this is a question for Mayor Watson and anyone else who wants to chime in. So with the new restrictions banning indoor dining for the next 28 days, how is that going to affect residents who are basically struggling? Because during the earlier, when indoor dining was was banned, most restaurants shifted to having a skeleton crew with as minimal staff as possible. Do you think that's going to happen again, and how can residents handle this?
Thanks very much, Alex. A couple of things. Obviously, the restaurant industry will be the biggest hit towards their industry as a result of today's decision. Some restaurants pivoted quite quickly to curbside deliveries, which will be allowed, takeout, buying gift cards, and so on to help them with cash flow. We've also extended the patio season and waived all the patio fees. Now, that's not obviously, tomorrow I think it's going to be quite a nice day at 21 degrees above. But when it starts getting down to single digits, it's not a pleasant experience unless there's heating capacity on the patios. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that all of the employees recognize there are wage subsidy programs in place. The federal and provincial government have worked very hard over the course of the last literally 12 hours to come up with plans to help those people who would be affected, including the employees, as well as the businesses themselves. And that includes a property tax rebate for that 28-day period that the province will pay for of an affected business, and we will be reimbursed as a city. Thank you.
Thank you. And for my follow-up, for Steve Kanellakis, how is this announcement going to affect the city's finances more in the long term?
Well, the obvious, thank you for that. The obvious one is, again, our recreation programs are going to be impacting our rentals with regard to space with sports teams, because now teams can only practice and not play games or scrimmages. So there's one impact. So and then of course there's always the concern that overall our economy could be impacted, as even though there's certain segments of the economy that are being impacted with this announcement, public confidence in terms of the economy could be an impact in our city, and that always worries us in terms of the long-term consequences of how people start feeling about spending money. And as the mayor had said, we're really urging people to support local businesses in any way they can, particularly the restaurants, to do takeout. We want businesses to survive. We need businesses to survive for our community to thrive. And all these things, when the broader community starts to be impacted, it affects revenues for the city, and therefore starts affecting our ability to maintain our services. But right now, our biggest impact is on parks and recreation, is in terms of the revenue loss to the city.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Alex. We will now move on to CBC Ottawa and Natalia Goodwin. Natalia?
Hi there. Question for the mayor. So previous assessments from local public health officials have been saying that COVID is largely spread happening in homes, not in businesses. We've been hearing this for most of the summer. So do you think that these measures will be effective, and are they suitable for our region? And are you worried that this will then make more people congregate in private settings, in underground parties and things like that?
Yeah, two good questions. I don't know if anyone could really answer them. It's a bit of a crystal ball situation. We'll continue to step up enforcement for these private parties. As you know, we've had a number of pretty outrageous behavior by certain people. You know, an Airbnb rented out to 40 or 50 people. It was shut down. We've seen backyards filled with close to 75 or 100 people, people gathering at a cottage and so on. And the implication, the domino effect of what's happened in that one cottage, how it spread to so many people. So obviously we will know by the end of the 28-day period. Ideally, what we'll see is a significant drop in the number of cases. And if we're heading in the right direction, the Premier's indicated that he could be prepared to look at what can be opened up after that 28 days. So we really are using this period as somewhat of a test period to see how effective the new rules and regulations are. And that will be analyzed, and a decision will be taken by the province of Ontario.
Okay, thank you. And my follow-up for Mr. Kanellakis, you talked just briefly there about recreational activities. You had put the registration on hold. Are we expected to see a cancellation of them outright now?
Yeah, you're going to see a deferral now of the registrations of our fall programs. We're also going to be reviewing all of our facilities. Mr. Chenier is on the call, and his team has been working all day to figure out what the impact is on our staff, our programs, and our specific facilities. If you don't mind, I'd love to have Dan give you some specifics of the things him and his team have been looking at today. Dan?
Okay.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. The more immediate impact of today's announcements have been on our arenas and fitness centers. And so we're in the process now of communicating to our membership that use fitness centers, and there are 16 of those across the city that we will be closing at midnight, as well as communicating with our arena users. There are hundreds of groups. Thankfully, our partners, the hockey and figure skating associations, have all been very responsive and very quick to get out to those groups to explain what the new requirements are. And as the city manager just mentioned, we are not going ahead with fall registration since, for the most part, the gathering limits that are now in place do not make many of these programs viable. There are a few exceptions to that may continue, but very few, and with the first priority being to do our part to stop the spread.
Could you give an example of what a exception would be?
Swimming lessons is probably one of the main exceptions, that we have very small groups and a very strict protocol in terms of distancing. Those lessons started ahead of our land programs and have continued. So it appears that there is an opportunity to continue those because it's progressive learning and it does have a safety aspect of teaching children to swim. So we're looking at that in the context of being able to continue those safely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. We will now move on to CTV Ottawa and Josh Pringle. Josh?
Thank you very much. My question is for both the mayor and for Dr. Malakny. As late as yesterday, both Ottawa Public Health and the mayor had said they were comfortable with Ottawa staying in stage 3 and allowing dine-in and restaurants and gyms to stay open. What has changed in the last 24 hours to the point where now a lot of businesses have to shut down?
I'll offer a comment, and Dr. Brent can probably supplement it. We wrote to, or Dr. Etches wrote to Keith Egli and I back on September 30th with a series of recommendations to limit activities at certain locations, including at restaurants, and our recommendations, or her recommendations that I forwarded on to the Premier right away, I believe, a few hours after I received the September 30th note, was to indicate we wanted to basically limit 6 to a table instead of 10 to a table. And we did not recommend at that time the full closure of dine-in facilities. What's changed is the province has decided now, along with their Chief Medical Officer of Health, that restaurants must close in the 3 so-called hotspots, Peel Region, Toronto, and Ottawa, and we will adhere to that. We felt that at the time, the restaurants industry, by and large, was doing a very good job of respecting physical distancing, masking their employees, hand sanitizing, limiting it to 6 people per table. But obviously, a lot has changed with this virus, literally on a daily and an hourly basis. And the province has ruled that we must follow their regulations, and will fully comply and support those regulations brought down by the province and the cabinet today. Doctor, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, no, Mayor, I think you captured it well. I mean, I think the province is applying a precautionary approach to based on what they're seeing in the three hotspots, so-called us, Peel, Toronto, in terms of wanting to reduce the risk of transmission, and that is the prerogative of the provincial level of government, and I think they're trying to act in the best interest of the people of those three regions.
Monsieur Watson, votre réponse en français, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, certainement. J'ai reçu une lettre de Dr. Etches le 30 septembre avec les suggestions pour la province pour limiter le nombre de personnes à une table dans un restaurant jusqu'à 6, pas à 10 personnes, et des autres suggestions. Et j'ai envoyé cette liste à M. Ford. M. Ford a accepté la suggestion pour 6 personnes par table. Mais pendant les dernières 48 heures, il y a des changements négatifs pour les 3 régions de la province. Et le cabinet et M. Ford a décidé de fermer des restaurants, seulement take-out, livraison, etc. Et maintenant, nous appuyons cet nouveau règlement et on travaille avec les restaurants pour trouver des solutions pour améliorer leur situation financière.
Josh, your follow-up?
My follow-up for the mayor. So the province decided to impose these restrictions. Did they give you or Ottawa Public Health the option to say no? And do you wish that they didn't put these restrictions in place on restaurants ahead of the Thanksgiving weekend?
Yeah, no, that option wasn't presented to us. The Premier called me earlier today to give me a heads up, and I indicated that given the direction from the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health, that we will certainly abide by that and ensure that we comply. And at the end of the day, as you know, there's a hierarchy in the system, and they, at the provincial level, supersede our decision-making. And that's not a criticism. The fact is that all 3 of these areas are seeing significant increases in the number of COVID-19 cases. And we have to take action to try to flatten that curve as quickly as possible. So I think the fact that we have a 28-day period to, as a community, to come together and do our best to limit contact with other people, simply go out of your home for essential service and business, whether it's going to school or medical appointments and grocery shopping or to go to work. And, we're going to do whatever we can to support the restaurants because they've been hit now twice, the original closing and obviously now this closing. So whatever we can do to help them financially, I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister and the Finance Minister for Ontario and the Premier worked well together, literally overnight, to come up with a package of financial assistance, including the payment of property taxes, hydro, natural gas, and overhead costs. That is not going to solve all of the problems, but it will bring a degree of stability to some of these restaurants who are suffering and whose employees are now going to lose their job a second time, literally within months.
Thank you, Josh. Et là, on va à Julien Paquette avec le droit. Julien?
Merci. My first question will be for Dr. Malachny. The focus and the message from OPH in the last few weeks has been social gatherings in private places, people gathering in larger numbers than they probably should. So with this new measure from the province, how much do you feel that this can help flatten the curve again?
Yeah, no, thanks, Julian. I think what we've stressed is that it's anywhere that social interactions are occurring between people from different households is a potential risk. You know, whether it's in the home, whether it's in a car, you know, driving somewhere together without masks on, or sharing a meal in a car, or sharing a meal in a workplace where you're sitting too close together. Of course, when you can't have your mask on, or having a meal. So it's an equal opportunity virus in the perspective that anywhere you give it an opportunity for transmission, it will take advantage. And so we have this provincial government announcement where, you know, they're instituting restrictions. But as the mayor has said repeatedly this afternoon, and we've said previously, it's all of our social interactions that we really need to be careful with, and we really need to ensure that we stay with our households, you know, starting now and through the weekend. And you know, it is Thanksgiving, and you know, we've messaged that it's really important that we're only socializing with our households, and to reach out to other people virtually. You know, this will be clearly stressful for people. And so, you know, so if you know people that have been affected, you know, reach out, provide support. It's okay not to be okay. There's information on the Ottawa Public Health website around mental health resources and supports, because as the mayor's indicated, there will be, you know, implications for this.
Et ma deuxième question pour le maire, vous avez mentionné qu'il y a eu à quelques reprises dans les dernières semaines des interventions pour des rassemblements dans des lieux privés. Est-ce qu'on a des chiffres sur le nombre de ces interventions-là, puis combien ont mené à des contraventions?
Oui, est-ce que Tony DeMonte est sur la ligne? Is Tony on the line?
No, he's
Steve?
not.
No, he's not, Mr. Mayor. He's on the call with the Solicitor General right now.
So I don't believe, and Steve, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if we have the most recent number of fines that have been issued that Julian was asking about. We can get back to him on that. Is that?
Yeah, I think the number that I last saw was something like 50, but I can confirm that, Mayor.
Ouais, ben, Julian, je pense que Steve a dit, écoutez, je pense que c'est une moyenne de 50, mais il va trouver le numéro correct parce que Tony DeMonte est sur un autre appel avec le bureau de Solicitor General de l'Ontario pour poser des questions sur les nouveaux règlements. Alors, Steve, if you can get someone in media relations to get back to Julian at the door with that number.
We will, Mayor. Merci.
Merci, Julian.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Julien. Now we'll move on to the Ottawa citizen and John Willing. John?
Thank you. Mayor Watson, I'm wondering, when you talked to the Premier, did you put up any opposition to the idea of having this temporary closure, or was it more of a resignation that this is what the City of Ottawa needs to do?
No, we accepted the provincial decision because, as you know, as I mentioned earlier, there is a hierarchy. At the end of the day, the province and the cabinet have that decision. And
ready to go.
I've always indicated. Oops, not sure who was on there. I've always indicated that we will follow the advice coming from the various tables at the province. We felt that the proposal that we put forward of limiting to 6 people at the table and continue to practice physical distancing appeared to be working, and that was back on September 30th. And fast forward to today, and obviously our numbers continue to go up and up, and that's obviously cause for great concern on our part. So we will use this 28-day period, obviously, to analyze, in fact, if the closure of the restaurants has been effective, and we started to see the numbers go down significantly, then obviously it was the right decision. If not, then we'll have that discussion with the Premier, because this is an important part of the economy. And while we have to consider health as the first priority, we also have to consider the health of the economy as well, particularly with thousands of people that as of midnight tonight will be losing their jobs.
Thank you, Mayor. A follow-up to Dr. Bologny. I know Dr. Etches has talked a lot about her concern with temporary economic closures in the city and how that affects the mental health of the city. And I'm wondering if you could tell us, should we be worried about the mental health of people in the city of Ottawa, considering, as the mayor just talked about, people might be losing their jobs, businesses might be closing over the next month?
Yeah, no, I mean, COVID-19 over many months is stressful in itself, and you know, we're asking people to live in ways that frankly isn't that normal for human beings in terms of, you know, maintaining distancing, to have this Thanksgiving where you don't have friends and family, so you have that sort of general background of stress, and certainly you know, the financial implications for people. I mean, as the mayor's indicated, you anticipate that people will lose income here, that businesses will be stretched and stressed in terms of being able to get through this. And so I'm very pleased to hear that other levels of government are finding ways to mitigate or provide support for people. But you know, I think that it's, as I said earlier, I mean, I think it's important for people to realize it's okay not to be okay. That to be that under the stress that they may be going under, to reach out. There's resources and information available on our website at Ottawa Public Health to support people. And I would say, as you know, we have a very caring and supportive community, and that, you know, in your network of friends and contacts, if you see people affected by this, then, you know, reach out, you know, virtually and support them and help them get through this 28 days. And also, as the mayor said, for these businesses is to help them in terms of utilizing their services, whether it's takeout or patio service or curbside.
Thank you both.
On va là à Radio-Canada et Jérémy Bergeron. Jérémy?
Oui, bonjour, est-ce que vous m'entendez bien?
Oui.
Oui, alors, Monsieur Watson, peut-être de façon concrète, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire pour les 28 prochains jours du côté de la ville là, pour soutenir ces entreprises-là qui vont être touchées? Puis, est-ce que vous n'avez pas peur que plusieurs entreprises meurent tout simplement, ferment?
Oui, ça c'est un peur pour moi et pour tous les membres du conseil, parce que c'est la deuxième fois que les personnes qui travaillent dans un restaurant ont perdu leur emploi. Comme j'ai dit en anglais il y a quelques minutes, il y a des choses que la ville a fait. On a proposé et introduire un projet pour aider avec les taxes. C'est pas le mot en français, deferment, pour payer les taxes. Et je pense que presque 2000 personnes et petites entreprises enregistrées pour ce programme. Deuxièmement, on prolonge la période pour les terrasses dans la ville d'Ottawa et on a éliminé les frais pour les terrasses. On va fournir toute l'information pour les autres projets de finances comme le gouvernement du Canada et Ontario a annoncé ce matin pour aider avec les prix pour le gaz naturel, hydro et les taxes pour la ville d'Ottawa. Ça va aider pour cette période de 28 jours. Et certainement, il y a des programmes pour aider avec les salaires des employés aussi, qui est très important parce que c'est nécessaire de convaincre des personnes de rester avec le restaurant, mais s'il n'y a pas de capacité pour manger dans un salon, c'est nécessaire d'encourager cet employé de stay involved avec le restaurant après la période de 28 jours.
La semaine dernière, vous aviez dit que vous n'aviez pas l'intention justement de fermer les restaurants et tout ça. Pourquoi est-ce qu'aujourd'hui, vous acceptez cette demande-là de M. Ford?
Bien, parce que la province avait le pouvoir de faire la décision finale pour toutes les municipalités. M. Ford et moi sommes sur la même page pendant les dernières semaines de continuer d'aider des restaurants de continuer d'ouvrir. Mais malheureusement, avec les chiffres, c'est important pour nous autres de suivre les directions de le cabinet et de la province de l'Ontario, parce que ça, c'est le système que toutes les municipalités sont responsables pour. Et j'espère qu'après le 28 jours, on voit une réduction, une baisse des cas de COVID-19 et c'est possible d'ouvrir les restaurants encore. Ça, c'est notre but, notre rêve, mais pour les prochains 28 jours, c'est important pour nous autres de suivre la loi et les règlements de la province de l'Ontario qui avaient la responsabilité pour ces décisions comme ça. Merci.
Merci, Jérémy. This is all the time we have. C'est tout le temps que nous disposons aujourd'hui. Thank you, everyone. Merci.